In this video, we will learn how to make toast. First step, grab a hot air soldering gun, start from the edges and slowly make your way to the center. Throw in some tasty melty butter and apply a layer of cold peanut butter. Enjoy while it's still hot. Well, this video isn't really about making toast. This one is the Yihua 8858 portable hot air station. This was sent to me from Banggood, and this looks like this is a newer version. It goes for about $50, which is kind of not the cheapest one out there, but it's not too pricey provided that it is a good one. On the label, it mentions some pretty standard features of a hot air soldering station and then mentions that the temperature goes from 100 to 480 degrees Celsius. First, there is this plastic stand kind of a thing, and it's got 3 different nozzles to suit your hot air soldering style. And the actual unit itself is quite massive and quite heavy. But that's understandable as it claims to put out 650 watts at 480 Celsius. Taking a closer look at the body, it looks like the metal extruder is of a very nice aluminum quality. The front end seems to be CNC machined to perfection. The holder is actually quite big, and that's because it's got the blower inside in there somewhere. The control panel has got an on-off button, a screen that shows the temperature in Celsius and Fahrenheit, and it's got a knob to adjust the airflow. These 2 little buttons, plus and minus, adjust the temperature. Now, before you go on to operate it, let's look at the user manual. So this thing works in both 110 and 220 volt AC. That means you can operate it anywhere in the world. The power output is a whopping 650 watts and the temperature goes up to 480 degrees Celsius. Some dimensions here, and most notably is the weight, which is a little over half a kilo, which is not very light, but pretty good if you consider that the heating element, the airflow pump, the fan, everything, all the electronics is packed inside of it. Let's take a look at the accessories now. First, the stand. The old models I remember used to come with a metal stand where you could just place the iron on top of it. But this one looks like you have to push the iron in there and kind of click it in. The important stuff here is the nozzles. We get 2 round nozzles. There is a square nozzle which could be used to solder big square ICs. Let's switch this thing on and let's see what it can do.
And let's take a closer look at how this thing operates. Now, once you've plugged in the power, you should see a little green dot here. That means that the power is on. So let's go ahead and switch on the power supply. It's got a flick button, and I had set temperature to 375, and it's going up pretty rapidly, and it's in just about 5 seconds you can see that it's reached 375 degrees. This knob here, you can use it to adjust the airflow, obviously, and then you can use these to adjust the temperature. Now, a good hot airflow station is one that keeps its temperature as constant as possible. So if you increase the temperature or if you vary the airflow, the temperature shouldn't change much as you vary the airflow or as you change the back pressure, right? And you can see that as I'm changing the back pressure, the temperature isn't really changing much, and that's a great thing. Compared to other hot air stations I've used in the past, this is surprisingly very stable. The fan's a bit noisy, but you can expect that. It's got a little fan in here, a little air pump, so the noise is something that is expected, but it works really well. The temperature goes up to about 460. 480 Celsius. That's pretty great. Not that I'm gonna use it at 480 Celsius ever. Most boards only tolerate up to 300 or 350 Celsius, and this is kind of my sweet point. So This is actually my practice board, and you can see that it's burnt and charred in many places, and I've taken components on and off of it. Let's go ahead, connect our microscope to the computer, and let's see if this hot airflow gun can get that solder melting.
Well, it looks like the iron has no problem in melting the solder off at about 350 degrees Celsius. Now let's try to reflow the solder and get these back on the board. And I'm probably adding too much solder here, but that's just to demonstrate the reflow of the solder. I won't obviously be using this board anyway. Well, in the end, it looked like I overcooked the board while demonstrating the iron, but nevertheless, we had fun and hopefully you guys learned something.
Now, once you're done soldering, what you want to do is you want to turn it off, and as soon as you turn it off, it doesn't turn off. You can see it's still running. And that's because the temperature is still pretty high and it needs some time to shut down. And it's reducing the temperature by blowing off all the hot air and cooling it down. So a good tip in this case would be to turn the airflow to the max, and that way you can increase the life of your hot airflow station substantially. And as you can see, the temperature is going down pretty rapidly once you switch on the airflow to the max. And once it gets down to about 100 degrees Celsius, to a safe limit, it's going to shut down by itself. So you can actually shut it down, turn it to max, and then just leave it on your table, and not have to worry about it being too hot or not shutting down. So let's see. Okay, so it's reached about 100 degrees Celsius, and it should stop anytime now. Okay, so it shuts off at exactly 100 degrees Celsius, and you can almost touch the nozzle now, which is good.
So, in conclusion, this is a really impressive iron. It gets rid of the issue with the previous items of the temperature fluctuations. The temperature is pretty consistent in this. The PID design is really phenomenal and keeps the temperature constant even if you adjust the airflow. Now, my only problem is that it's quite big for a handheld device, but nevertheless, I don't think there is anything smaller in the market. So I think $50 is a pretty good price for this hot air soldering station. If you want to check this out, I'm going to leave a link in the description below. I'm also going to leave a link for the microscope that I use. That's all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Keep fungineering, stay safe, and I will see you next week.